All right, good morning, guys. 53 minutes after the hour on this Thursday as we kick in for hopefully a avoidance of getting into alert day coverage this evening. I can't rule it out, but majority of what our threat will be certainly is still in play for tomorrow. You guys have been looking at the models already. I'm not sure why you need me. You guys have got it covered. But we'll discuss some of the model trends. Don't get too caught up on one way or the other. Different models have different ways of handling things. There's certain convective models that handle convective scenarios like thunderstorms better than others. So there's a lot of noise. A lot of it is out there. And trust me, we feel like we have to sift through it all and try to find a common theme. And then also take into context when, based on our team here even, of what has happened before in this scenario. What pattern are we in now since really we entered into the stormy zone? Are we seeing similarities where things keep repeating themselves? Those kind of signals you all have to play into that sometimes even AI can't capture that stuff. So that's what we're in the process of doing. And we've been doing that all week. But now we're getting to the point of getting away from some of the modeling and focus a little bit more on just trying to nail down time periods you guys need to be aware of, and certainly impacts. And that's been our biggest title that we've had to deal with is just trying to analyze it all and help you guys out. We've heard from a lot of you that have events. I know there's a lot of graduations taking place, so a lot of nervous parents out there, school districts, totally understand that. And our goal is not to, make a storm appear out of nowhere and then it not happen and you cancel your rents. We're not in the business of doing that. We just want to advise you all where we stand today, and you all have to make your decisions from there on your own personal plans, but we just want you safe. That's key number one. All right. So what I'm going to do is always do, just kind of break it down chronologically. We'll start in the short term, and then now this event's right. We're knocking at the door here. We don't have too far to go, and we're already in the core of the discussion. Let me show you a live view right now. It's always nice to start off with this, right? The pretty fountain there at Hubert's Orchard and Winery. A sunny day. That's going to feel a lot more like like a mid-July type of day coming our way. 75 in Louisville. Humidity can be felt, but it's not to July and August standards by any stretch. Dew points are in the 60s, but it certainly can be felt. There will likely be a heat index, a slight one today as we build up that humidity. 75 here, 77 Jeffersonville, already close to 80 in some spots. A messy looking sky here. So this is going to be the really the main question that doesn't really matter to a lot of you out there is, will we hit 90 or not? Well, the cloud deck from the building of the cap for sure is showing up, and that is going to be spilling in the area. So that may slow down the thermometer slightly, but any downpours certainly would. And that's still possible that we could see where this lid on the atmosphere gives way and thunderstorms begin to pop. Some of the high-res modeling has been trending that way. Some are staying in the ground, showing that the cap will indeed hold. So it's kind of a balancing act, and it's a tough one for our area in particular, because in our area, we only have two areas that launch weather balloons that are close by, and they're not in wave country. They're actually way down to the south in Nashville, Tennessee, and then also way up here to the north of Cincinnati. And those two balloons, which are launched twice a day at 8 and a.m. and 8 p.m., kind of give the general environment for the region. So we don't have balloons launch here in Louisville. So we have to kind of look at their data and kind of discern from there. Now, one thing we do have that a lot of the other cities, not only in the country, in the world, don't have, that is UPS. And we can get some of their data. Now, we can't access it even in the media. It is a privately controlled setup there with the government. So, but they are very good about sharing that data with us when we get to the moment when we need it, to let us know, what where the plane's reading as we're taking off and landing, about where the cap is holding or not. So that data is nearly immediate, and it's great to have. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more from them as we head throughout the day. But in the short term, storm aside, I want you guys to try to enjoy today. It is a summer-like day, so I don't want you to stay inside and fear thunderstorms, all day here. It's not going to be that type of setup. We got some time to enjoy this, so I encourage you to do that, especially when you see the extended, because it is about to get cooler again. But we do have a couple of things we're going to be watching here today. One little impulse is going to be pushing in from areas of Arkansas into West Kentucky. We'll see if this can fire up any storms or not. Otherwise, the front itself, here's the low, and the front is kind of angled very sharply through St. Louis. So really, it's going to be Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, into Michigan. This is where the worst of the tornado potential today will be, and more widespread coverage. I mean, it's nearly a lock. They're going to have a very active radar here in just a few hours. It's not a lock for us, and we just don't know how much will build in this area of Indiana and Kentucky. You know, a couple of days ago, it looked like it would be a little closer to I-70, and the trend has been shifted a little more to the south, but still very isolated, and that's the question. It's an odd setup of forecasting a partly sunny, some would say hot day, but with an isolated large hail event or an isolated wind damage potential out of this. So it's kind of an odd wording on this, but it will be isolated. So while we're in the alert day status this evening, there's still some wiggle opportunity here that we could get lucky, but we can't ignore either that there are signs anyway that the cap does want to break this evening, especially as we get into the sunset, as it naturally does anyway. At least lessens its grip on the atmosphere. And at that point, we're really going to be staring at the radar and just babysitting it, making sure nothing tries to pop. Because as soon as we start to cool the air down, if we're in trouble, we're going to see it fairly quick. If we're okay, we'll know that as well. And we'll be able to at least have some sort of a quiet night. I do think tomorrow morning may be a little on the noisy side. So let me show you where the heat is building. That's number one, getting a lot of attention. The heat index, by the way, in Illinois today, maybe into southwest Indiana, but the heat index there, we've got 97 to 98 degrees later on today. Yikes, too early for that. We won't get to that level. Maybe about 91 or 92. Again, it's a heat index I'm talking about we may reach here. But full-on summer there, and that's even more of a problem, but even also more of a sign that the cap is going to really fight here today. Let me show you the Cape. All right, that's the fuel starting to really become into the extreme category as you move into Missouri, right into that warm sector. It's feeding right into ahead of that low for Wisconsin today. Prime example of problems that will be developing there. Not much yet. Cloud cover so far has blocked some of this. So clouds are thinning. So just now starting to build it in West Tennessee and Kentucky. And certainly there's a stripe there across Kentucky that's starting to build up as well. Remember, the lid is what we'll be watching today to see if anything can spark. As soon as we start seeing those tiring cumulus clouds outside, then we can have some problems. Now, if we stay with a mid-level deck of clouds, which will be moving in shortly, these will actually prevent some of those cumulus from having a chance to grow. Sometimes that can save us. We'll see if it happens. All right, Storm Prediction Center, let's cover that. There's the enhanced risk. It is out. They did not extend that out with the update yesterday. Unless there's a more of a likelihood the cap is going to bust down here, I just don't think they're going to expand it, even though the parameters are really the same on the potential here as they are there. It's just that coverage is going to be much more limited. The soundings not only feature a cap, but also some fairly dry air in the mid layers of the atmosphere, which screams hail more so than widespread thunderstorms. So we could get severe weather, certainly a pop, but they'd be very small little clusters, maybe one or two. That may be it that can form. And that means they could easily miss us. But we just need to be on guard. They could easily pop very close to us. And let's hope that's not the case. Versus what's happening up here in the enhanced risk will indeed be much more widespread, and which we'll have to face tomorrow. But that's why their confidence is higher on that potential on coverage. So the enhanced risk has been placed to our north. All right, let me zoom in on this. Again, the slight risk encompasses everyone. The chance of it really firing anything up between now and 4 or 5 o'clock is slim. I'd say, again, once the sun angle starts lowering, which is roughly after 4 to 5 p.m., at any point thereon, we just need to be weather aware and keep an eye on the building cumulus and see if anything does break through that cap. And that's not a guarantee, but let's fingers crossed that we can at least get a nice, quiet evening without all the stress. That'd be nice to enjoy. Tomorrow, there's the enhanced risk. I know you're going to ask it. If it's not Cameron, it'll be Adam or Brandon, somebody. I was going to say, hey, is it going to be a moderate risk? Well, if a straight line wind MCS type of setup is at play, I think that may be what will tip it to a moderate. But it doesn't really matter at this point. It really doesn't. We've already been through a moderate, right, this year. So we can handle that. The category is not really mattering. It's really just awareness. And that's why these outlooks were created, is to bring awareness. And you guys are fully aware. If you've been watching every day, for sure, you're fully aware. So I don't think you need more reassurance than you're already getting from those outlooks. But I know still it gets attention, especially on social media. So there's the enhanced. There's the tornado potential. Of course, that is elevated and hatched, indicating, as you would suspect, the amount of wind energy with this system, the amount of fuel, summertime fuel in play. Yeah, you've got the potential for two different things to happen. And you'll see it on future casts. We will have a complex of storms that will have bowling segments with it, or an apex, an MCS kind of feature to it, almost like an upside down L. I'll draw it for you coming up, but that usually is a straight line wind event, but right in the apex, you can get tornadoes. But there's also a risk for cells to pop in advance of that. And we say this often, severe weather. There's always a risk of cells like that could pop, because they are the dangerous ones, because they contain every element. If they pop, they would have the hail, they would have the very heavy rainfall, the tornado potential, the very, very intense lightning. They would kind of cover it all, but a snowstorm. I mean, they can be giants, and they can cause a lot of problems, because they also can mess up your timing. A lot of the data will aim and track the progress of when to expect the complex of storms in the line of storms. But then suddenly you get these supercells that just jump out of the headline and pop, sometimes up to 1 to 2 hours ahead of schedule. And it throws all the timing off. And if you're not prepared, it could throw you off. So we want to make sure to give us a bit of a wide window on this for tomorrow. I think we're starting ours at about 5. And we're trying to account for supercells. And then I think the main issue will be closer to 7 for the straight line wind. But we're thinking as early as 5 supercell potential will be there. And you just need to be ready, because those are the ones that are nasty. So that's where you're going to really get a lot of your tornado potential would be found, especially in the individual cells. Okay, straight line winds. This is the one that if there's going to be moving up to a moderate level, this percentage would get up to, what is the list on here? 45%. Yeah, if it goes to 45%, or certainly get to 60%, that would be enough to move it to a moderate. And I am concerned that it may get to that level. It could, as you're about to see in some of the data. So straight line winds over multiple areas at one time. I can't stress enough how much more damaging that is to our region, our communities, and on our power supply. It can really cause more of a headache than anything when these kind of rake through the area. But that potential is certainly on the table. But they behave like Pac-Man, as I've said many times, trying to give everything a character. They kind of feed on the higher dew points. And so when they develop, they're going to kind of move around a bit and chomp away. So they may aim toward you, may aim a little more east. We just don't know until they pop. And once they pop, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to track them and warn you guys, you're in the path of hurricane force winds coming your way. Right now, we're still in the potential stage, not into the actual happening part. But at least the potential stage is looking higher and higher on that. Your hail threat is unique. Typically, you would get that only in the cellular portion, but you can get it embedded in a MCS feature. You can get hail in that. Don't get me wrong, because sometimes you get embedded supercells within that upside down L. But certainly, there's a chance for individual cells to contain it. So what they've done is the hatched area goes outside of the higher risk zone there they have for hail. And the reason for that is that the coverage looks greater in this area for hail potential. The coverage right now for this particular outlook for, say, eastern Indiana and Ohio, it doesn't look to be as great, but they're saying that if anything forms, very large hail would certainly be a factor. And that makes total sense. So there's two different things happening. The colors you see in the hatched area, usually they line up on top of each other, but not always. And if they don't, then there is a story they're trying to tell. And that's our job, is kind of explain that, what that story is. So let's start with Friday storms. Here's what we got to deal with right out of the gate. Now, I know today we have a chance to get something to form this afternoon. Right now, I didn't load up that particular model for this afternoon. There's some that develop cells that pop across Kentucky, some that do not. We're going to be showing that on our newscaster coming up today, and we're going to be handling it hard today on social media. So pay attention to that. I want to mainly just focus on the Friday setup, because I think that's something we don't want to ignore. I mean, we're not ignoring today's at all. We're just already in our status as a team focused on today. My job right now is to talk to you all about tomorrow, to give you the heads up, because we discussed yesterday a lot. So, or yesterday, I'll get it right. It's been a whirlwind of a week. Tomorrow morning, near commutes, Friday morning's commute. This is a problem because we know that thunderstorms that will develop in the weakness of the cap will try to form on the radar. We just don't know how close to I-64 they're going to be. Our in-house model of the graph was like close to this level, and then now it's like has nothing that is going to light up the radar tomorrow morning. The other high-res models are aiming toward near Louisville, near. I haven't seen much of a signal north of the river. Everything's been either right there on Jefferson County or certainly south. This is important. This is one of the catalysts for the entire day. If this is the reality, we get these big-time storms that form in the morning, well, then what happens next? Good question. If they linger or they just kind of run themselves out of heavy rainfall, as these look like they will do, they don't move very much north or south. They just kind of rain themselves out and head out. If they happen at the time that is indicated, say 5 to 7, maybe 8 a.m., there is still plenty of time for the atmosphere to gain sunshine, destabilize, and we still have the exact same problem as we end Friday evening that we're worried about. If these are slower to develop or linger longer, and I would say it's fair to say 12 to 1 p.m. in that range is the cutoff time. If they're still hanging out here at 12 to 1 p.m. and we're overcast and still have even a spotty shower or two left over from this mess, that is going to start to alter Friday afternoon, evening, and we may not avoid severe weather, but boy, it'll knock down the dramatics of it quite a bit. So this morning piece by far is a significant piece. And with the modeling still varying a bit on where to place it, it makes us like uneasy. It's like, oh, come on, lock in, because you're the piece that we need. But unfortunately, we're going to have to wait. Maybe the afternoon data comes in, we'll kind of lock in a little easier, and that'll give us a little more confidence. Right now, it's still wavering a bit. But this is how it handles it. This is the HER model. It does allow us to break back out in sunshine, and we're going to heat up. Hello, upper 80s. Could we hit 90? I think, while 90 is reachable today, I'm not going to say it's not, it is, but 90 is also reachable tomorrow. It just depends on how quickly we bust back out into some sunshine. Once we do, though, obviously we're unstable. The cap tomorrow, it's there, but it weakens fairly quick in the afternoon. So it's not as strong of a cap as what we have today, but there is a cap tomorrow. But I don't see it being a strong cap. So I don't want you guys to get caught off guard on here and talk about there's a cap Friday. Yeah, there is a cap, but it's relatively weak and can easily be overcome with a front moving in. So that's the reason why storms will fire up. So here we go. We get into 5 o'clock. Storms develop, pop on the radar. Now let me rewind this because there was a couple of things happening here. Let me take it back a little bit. Look what happens at 3 o'clock. See the individual cells that popped on the radar. These are the ones that can easily become tornadic and contain the very large hail. And notice how they drift north. And there's also a line moving in from Illinois at the same time underneath the banner or right next to me, right over here on the side of me. I'm kind of blocking it, not intentionally. But you can see the line moves in, connects to it. That line meshes together. Oh, boy, what a mess. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you get this on the radar. Yeah, very heavy rainfall, showers, storms, damaging winds, kind of a big mess. Now, with the line and the cells combining together, I will tell you right now, if this look is right, and this just updated 10 minutes ago, if this look is right, this will cut down a bit on the straight line wind threat, but it would certainly increase the tornado potential. There's a lot of collision going on in the cells, so there will be a greater potential risk there for hail and tornadoes. Sorry. All right, that moves on by, and yep, I was wondering if number 2 is still there. Number 2 is still there. Displaced a few hours. Now, this will be moving into, so if I put a gap on this, you can see the air on the temperature. It doesn't warm back up, so you don't become very unstable again like you did with the first round when we got into the 80s. So there will be a cool layer for the second round. That should take the bases of the clouds for the second round and raise them. So I think the primary threat for the second round, if it holds especially, is going to be perhaps some hail, gusty winds. Your trail threat will start to ease back. But boy, flash flooding will be a huge issue if this scenario here does indeed play out. And then finally, by the time we hit into just after midnight, we're done. So no, this is not a stuff you have to stay up all night to witness, which is certainly some good news. All right, so let me show you. Some of you have been asking about what about our friends, the Horizon Model AI from our local company at Climate Vision. Our interface, we don't have a show into within our interface, but I'll show you some snapshots of some of their data. As I know you guys are always curious on this. I can't always show it all the time, but I'll show you with some of the highlights today. I highlighted Louisville, by the way, in the circle. So this is the morning round for tomorrow morning's rush hour. This is where it has the complex of storms. We advanced this. This is now getting into the about 4 to 5 p.m. window. Supercells blossoming over Kentucky. Again, these can become tornadic with very large hail quickly Friday afternoon. Here comes then the MCS itself. Now, notice there is a little bit of a displacement. There is a sort of connection to them. The HER is a little more dramatic because the HER is so fast with this that it just runs right into these cells. The horizon looks like there's just a small timing delay here, but that could easily be just a model run that would look different on the next one. It may congeal together in the next run. But you get the idea is that we have a threat for cells to pop in advance, and then we get this backward C-shaped wall of wind coming our way. Timing very, very similar still, roughly into the 6, 7 o'clock window. They'll be rolling in. As they roll on by, there is another round, and that will be the one that arrives overnight tonight. This is looking at the wind field. I thought this has been consistent. This is 4 or 5 runs in a row now for Horizon. So look at the waviness first off. You're going to get your tornado potential mixed into that easily anytime you have a wiggle. But it's already indicating, if you look carefully there, at least 70 mile per hour wind potential out of this, maybe even up to 80 mile per hour winds can be found along this line of storms. So in a weird way, you almost want some of those cells to pop to kind of help calm this bad boy down a bit. But the problem is if we get cells to pop in advance, it also means we're not out of trouble and we'll still have to deal with severe weather and perhaps very large hail. So there's not really a win-win here, guys. I mean, obviously the perfect scenario is that all this falls apart and doesn't happen at all. That would be great. But right now, I have yet to really see data that says that it's a bust. Just about everything has something that moves into the area. So yikes. All right, so let's break down these threats again for this afternoon. We'll be watching the radar carefully. I mentioned this yesterday. If anything can form and get through this cap, it's going to be hail. Will be our biggest worry right away. We'll be tracking that. Wind, tornado, and then the flooding threat will all fall down in that order of threats. Once we get into tomorrow, tornado threat is certainly elevated, especially if those individual cells take over. We will have to increase that one more level. The straight line wind threat, I moved it all the way over. I'm keeping it there all the way to the right. I think the wind field, especially tracking in that jet streak that comes through the area, if these storms can ride along that jet streak, they are going, that's a heck of a tailpipe, guys. That's a heck of a tailpipe. And they will keep on chugging along as fast as they can. You won't be able to even outrun them on interstates. Well, some of you have seen your driving skills, but most of you won't be able to. Hail would certainly be there, again, if individualized cells. Otherwise, more of a quarter to golf ball size hail in the actual backward C-shaped wind event. And flooding will be a growing concern. If you end up with 1-2 punches of these, yes, they're moving fast, but you're getting multiple rounds of rainfall rates. It could be around 2 inches an hour. And some of you have already seen rainfall, a high amount this week. That is obviously going to cause some big problems on flooding as well for the area. All right, as I'll show you the 10-day, and I'll get some more questions I got to run. An alert day is out for next Tuesday night. Not sure yet when they'll be added, but there is at least a decent punch, especially with the warm front that moves in. But there is a decent punch to allow for at least some severe potential. So we flagged that for Tuesday. Stay tuned. We do get cool. 60s as we enter the holiday weekend and light showers, but no severe weather for a while. I think we may break out of this pattern a bit after Tuesday. So there you go. I'm afraid to see your comments. Please be kind to me. All right, Tawana just sent a note. All right, the Weather Service is holding a conference call with the media today at 3 o'clock. I'll be on the air, but we'll let you know if there's anything. I think you guys know what they'll be saying, but this is pretty normal to get, especially enhanced risk set up. We have conference calls, so we're doing that today, it looks like. Hi, Margaret. How you doing? I'm going to the Zac Brown concert Friday night. Oh, boy. You're kind of the same boat of anything that you have planned. If you're watching right now anywhere in Wave Country, and really anywhere in the Ohio Valley, but anywhere in Wave Country, Friday night, timing is going to vary depending on exactly your location. I can't give timing for everybody. But if you have plans Friday night, there is a higher than usual likelihood they're going to be canceled. So you need to start thinking, okay, if it is canceled, what am I going to do next? Am I still going to travel there and find something else to do? And maybe it gets rescheduled at a time when I'm still in town. You need to be thinking of those things and stay close to the venue's websites, and they'll be updating you guys. But anything outside especially has a likelihood to be impacted and could be indeed canceled. We've already seen several cancellations here in our area. So that's the best advice I can give you, Margaret, is just plan for a cancellation. Jonathan, is Wednesday next week an all-day storm setup? For storms, yes. For severe weather, unclear. It's trending a little more stable on Wednesday, but obviously the grid is so poor this far out. I need more time to look at any type of heating that could happen, but I do know at least some strong to severe storms that will be weakening, especially near and south of E-Town next Tuesday. Looks to be the zone I'm watching right now. So I think there's enough to flag it for that, and we'll wait and see. Kevin, tornado outbreak possible. I think that a straight line wind damaging event is more likely than a tornado outbreak. But it depends on where you're at in the region. But a straight line wind still worries me. It's those cells, guys. I can't stress enough. The cells are such a wrench thrower in this kind of setup. You throw these supercells that pop in advance, you just change everything up quickly. And we just don't know if they're going to form until maybe 90 minutes before they do. And at that point, we're able to start dissecting and warn you guys. But we'll be around watching it all to let you know how it's going to work out. Brandon, do you think we could see rougher wording moving forward regarding tornadoes, intense or violent? I don't know if that would be the case. I'm assuming you mean like SBC type of wording that would come out. Maybe they may say strong. I think would be more likely than violent, just because there are some parameters that are missing here on the tornado side. It's not a perfect tornado environment. It really isn't. It's really just the low ceilings that really have thrown the tornado threat a little higher. I think the straight line wind threat, to me, is still up there. Okay. Ryan, is there a chance the storms get here sooner? I'm assuming you mean tomorrow afternoon. Yes, they could get here sooner than 5. But we're aiming for 5 for now. And we'll just move it along, and we'll just try to get there. Looking forward to quiet weather. Really, I miss snow. I know a lot of you snow haters out there, but snow is so much easier, guys. So much more fun. That's fun. This stuff is fun. This stuff is terrifying. All right. I'm going to let it go for now. Good point, Albert, on patio furniture. If you already got your patio furniture out, today's the day. Get it anchored down, get the cushions off, put them in the shed or the garage. Anything that can fly around, especially if you have those gazebos that are not stable. Get them stabilized, or just take the canopy off completely unless you want it ripped. Just take those precautions today and hope that you don't get hit. But I can assure you, you don't want to be on the other side of that and have all the damage happen and have to then figure out a way to fix it all. And get mad at yourself knowing that you could have prevented that. And so I'm not trying to be the devil's advocate and sit on your shoulder here. I'm just trying to help you out. Today's the day. If you're able to do some of those actions and prevent anything that's accessible and doesn't require calling in a company to help you out, then I would take care of it today. And we're going to have updates again this afternoon. Well, we're watching today's setup first. That's number one. The other half of our team is watching Friday's data rolling in. We're kind of just communicating back and forth. and until we get to tomorrow, and then we're all hashing out tomorrow. All right, so that's the game plan. All right, guys, thanks for watching as always. I do have to run. I could talk to you about all day. I know you certainly would love to hear me just ramble for hours and hours, right? Well, guess what? You're going to on TV coming up in about 30 minutes. I'll see you soon.